Happy New Year's, everybody, and Tony here with a review of Emmerich Kalman's operetta Die Csardasfürstin, known in English as The Czardas Princess, which was shown at the Volksoper Wien. The conductor was Gerrit Priesnitz, the production was done by Robert Herzl, the set design was done by Pantelis Deselas, the costumes were handled by Sylvia Strahammer, the choreographers were Michael Maurer and Matthias Jurkovic, and the chorus master was Thomas Böttcher. Now, I have heard a lot about this operetta, and especially in terms of its opening aria for Silva Varescu, the main heroine, Haya Haya in den Bergen, which has been sung by a lot of different sopranos, most notably the likes of Anna Netrebko, and even a lot of sopranos who preceded her, and even used this operetta aria as a concert piece. Also, this operetta has been very much well loved with the likes of Die Fledermaus, Eine Nacht in Venedig, Der Vogelhändler, Die lustige Witwe, Der Land des Lächelns, and many other well-known operettas, whether they be German or French, mostly German. This has got to be one of the most well-known German operettas of all time, and yes, its story is also quite simple. Like, you have this chanteuse, Silva Varescu, who is madly in love with Prince Edwin, and Prince Edwin is also madly in love with her. However, there are a lot of complications that prevent them from being married. Silva finds herself being whisked away by Edwin's best friend Boni, and then they have a lot of misunderstandings with each other. Boni is also in love with Edwin's cousin, Princess Stasi. A lot of crazy things go on, but in the end, the two couples end up getting together, and all ends happily. The plot is very simple, much like a lot of operettas. But just like a lot of operettas, it also has that signature charm, likability, lightness, but also brilliance, what really makes any operetta worthwhile listening to in terms of its music and in terms of its memorable pieces. And in this operetta, we get Haya Haya in den Bergen, the opening aria of Silva Varescu. So going into the production, I really have to say that I love it. From the set designs, to the costumes, to all the furniture pieces, everything. Everything was just so gorgeous, so colorful. And yes, I spam these words a lot, but when it comes to a very great production that's full of intricate designs, I pretty much will have to say that it definitely lives up to those standards of color palettes, and just full of excitement, and even full of authenticity. Not to mention the costumes are equally as gorgeous and equally as riveting. So the production was just so full of life, so full of color, and just so full of bounce, which really made my evening really great for operetta. And then we get to the singers. Now, singing the role of our title heroine, Silva Varescu, is the Austrian spinto soprano, Ursula Pfitzner. Now, the thing about Silva Varescu is that she's usually sung by a full lyric soprano, or even that of a light lyric soprano. But whatever the Fach, a lot of sopranos definitely flock to sing this very wonderful, very vibrant, and very fun heroine. And I could really tell that Ursula Pfitzner had a lot of fun with this role. Now, she's been very notable for singing a lot of spinto soprano and dramatic soprano roles, the likes of Sieglinde and Gutrune, and even a lot of the full lyric soprano roles. This is her at her best. I really love the tone of her singing voice. When she goes down to the low notes, she really holds it all together from the bottom without that harsh, chesty tone. And when she sings all of her high notes, they're brilliant and almost like comets. And her middle range was absolutely excellent. But she's also a very great dancer and a very great actress, so she was definitely riveting in her role. That's all I can say. She was riveting and technically flawless, and really much a great actress in her own rights. She really bounced well off of the other co-stars, and she did very fabulously all throughout. Singing her lover Edvin was the tenor Volksoper. Now, the thing about Edvin is that he needs a lyric tenor who can sing all of his arias well and even all of his scenes well, and he has to have a very steady technique. And with Volksoper, I was totally immersed in his performance. And this is basically the first time I have heard a tenor like this. The same thing can be said about Ursula Fitzna. I have basically never seen these singers before, but this is my first time seeing them on stage, and they have left such an impression, and a very strong one at that. With Volksoper as Edvin, he was a compelling actor. He was a compelling musician, really taking fine advantage of his voice, and in terms of his high notes, his middle range, everything just went together so homogeneously, and I can't even find one single fault with his performance. He's really that great. He's a great actor, he's a great singer, and he uses his musicality, he uses his theatricality, and everything that he has to such an advantage, and with such a charisma that probably few other tenors could ever compare. So he was definitely a very charismatic performer, helped with great musicianship and even greater theatricality. And then singing the role of his cousin Stasi was Mara Mastalir. Now, in contrast to Silva Varescu, Stasi needs a lighter sounding voice. And with Mara Mastalir, I thought she did a very wonderful job, being a total contrast to Ursula Fitzna's spicy, yet very much vibrant Silva Varescu. Mara Mastalir as Princess Stasi also has that spiciness, but she also has some feistiness and also has some flighty moments as well. She's a very great actress in her own right, making Stasi a very fun character to watch. There are times in which she can be stuffy and sharp, but she has a very kind heart, and she's very much enjoyable to watch on screen, and she is very much likable. And her singing technique was flawless. She has a light, lovely, light lyric soprano voice that is just totally gorgeous to listen to, totally homogeneous throughout all the registers, and her theatricality was strong. She definitely really put everything at the palm of her hands and just used them well. Singing her lover, Boni, was the baritone Michael Havlicek. Now, even though this role is sung mostly by a tenor, there were some good amounts of baritones that also sang this. Michael Havlicek as Boni was an absolute revelation for me. His baritone voice was velvety, gorgeous, and I could really tell that this gentleman also had a lot of experience singing a lot of the lyric baritone roles, like Papageno, and even that of Guglielmo from Zauberflöte and Così fan tutte, respectively. So to really hear him sing and act his role was a huge delight. He really put everything on the palm of his hand and just rolled with everything. He was a very enthralling performer, has a great amount of charisma, and has great chemistry with all of his co-stars. That right there is one of the most complete performers I have ever seen. And then we have the role of Count Ferry, sung by veteran tenor Kurt Schreibmeier. Now, Kurt Schreibmeier has been very well known throughout I would have to say the 70s and 80s, even up to the 90s and 2000s, in mostly the German repertoire, but mostly in the likes of Wagner, singing the likes of Froh from Das Rheingold, and a lot of the lyrical Wagner tenor parts. Now here he is playing a character part, and even though I could sense the tiredness and that wobble in his voice, I have to say that despite his age, he really is a very convincing and very enthralling performer, giving out such great moments of brilliance and even working well off of his co-stars. And he also has a fine instrument in tune. Yes, it may not be as, well, full of sheen as it was in the past, but he makes up for it in terms of theatricality and in terms of involvement with the drama, involvement with all the situations going on, and he was definitely very good in his role. And it's really quite astonishing to see someone like Kurt Schreibmeier sing after many, 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 many years. And we have the role of the parents, who are Leopold Maria and his wife Anhilde, sung by Peter Matic, who was a very well-known Austrian actor of the past, and mezzo-soprano, or who began mainly as a soprano, Regula Rosen. These two, I have to say, had very superb chemistry as the parents. In terms of Peter Matic as an actor, I thought he did a very excellent job in his role. He was able to give off that stubborn yet likable characteristic that really makes his character shine. And with Regula Rosen, I really enjoy her kindly, motherly nature in terms of this role, and her singing voice was absolutely fine. It's a round, rich instrument in contrast to Peter Matic's more character tenor-like voice. So it was definitely a joy seeing these two fine veterans really working well off of each other, and even just really putting in a lot of their heart and soul into their roles, as thankless as they may be. Then we have the role of the lieutenant, Eugen, who is the Baron of Ronsdorfs, done by Karl-Michael Ebner, who has a very fine stage presence and has really great acting chops. But more than anything, his stage presence was really that enthralling, full of charisma, full of firmness, and definitely something that I totally felt enthralled with, especially when he entered the stage. Then we have the role of Ziggy Gross, sung by Boris Eder, who is a very fine actor and is a very fine character actor at that too. And then we have Sandor von Kiss, sung by Daniel Ohlenschläger, who has a round, rich voice and an equally outstanding stage presence. So, whatever you slice it, the acting and singing found in this operetta was superb, with everyone really giving in to their roles and everyone just having such a huge ball, and I could really tell that everyone had such great fun portraying their respective characters. And the conducting done by Maestro Priesnitz alongside the chorus and the orchestra were just excellent. They brought a lot of fireworks to the playing, and I found no sour note whatsoever. So overall, this was definitely a great introduction to this operetta, and this was definitely a great evening for operetta. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow afternoon, where I hopefully review Die Fledermaus from Johann Strauss, and even tomorrow evening, where I review the three mezzos in concert at the Theater an der Wien. But if I can't make it to Die Fledermaus tomorrow, then at least I have the three mezzos, Anne-Sophia von Otter, Angelika Kirchschlager, and Natalia Kavalek, who are going to sing at the Theater an der Wien. So do look out for that. So until then, I hope you're going to all have a happy new year. I hope you all celebrate it well. And I really hope that 2016 will be a very great year for all of us. Good night, everybody.